Hello, folks, and welcome to That Sunday Show on the Four Lads Had a Dream podcast network. I'm your host this evening, Andrew Stewart, and I'm joined by one of my usual crew. I think Calvin must get hit by the injury bug at the moment, but Cheryl, thank you for coming on tonight.
No bother. Thank you for having me. Slightly better Sunday today, I think. Slightly happier in some ways, at least.
Yeah, we're good at trying to find positivity. I think that's something that we're learning with Rangers this season. Um, Obviously, we'll get into today as a whole. So yeah, we're not going to hide from it. We'll discuss it. But we're not going to completely abandon a post. We're going to discuss the game as a whole, as there was a match to be played, a game that Rangers won. I don't want to say that as if we're celebrating the fact that we actually won a game, but it's nice to continue winning at home at least. We'll go through this lineup, Cheryl. Obviously, Liam Kelly in goal with Jack's extended absence. Jeff Day, Clinton and Ciala, Robin Proper, Radvan Yilmaz, Mohamed Diamande, Nikola Raska, and Danilo in the team. Yanis Hadji, Vaslav Cherny, and Hamza Egaman. I don't know. After the midweek game, I thought the personnel for midweek should have been good enough. I think we all had that kind of feeling. The personnel in the park should have been good enough to win that. It was just if they were going to do any tweaking, with Danilo coming back in, Cheryl, I think it's just another one of these. Is if your best squad's available, put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I put something out on X a couple of weeks ago saying nobody does quite this is working well. Let's change it up. Like Rangers. I think we spoke about it at the end of the pod last week when we were thinking about the Dundee game, Andy, that we had looked for maybe Egaman and Danilo to be back together. That didn't happen on Thursday, but it did at least happen today. So a wee bit more positive. I don't know why. I know he has to rotate. I know we're kind of threadbare at the moment, but that's more so at at the back. I don't know why he felt the need to deviate from two strikers on the pitch when it worked so well in December. But at least we've seen a return to that today.
Yeah, I'm happy to see Danny back in. I think I don't know what it is, and it's again I'm not one for throwing people under the bus. I just feel like Danilo and Hamza seem to work better than Nadim and Hamza. I feel it's the if Hamza drifts or drops deep, I think Danilo would just with that extra experience and knowing that area of the park has the wherewithal to then fill in the gap. I don't know if it's just one of these things Nadim needs to get used to, but Danny did everything I kind of expected of him today. If he's comfortable in the ball, he does his movement. I think certainly helps with at least the players around him. Obviously Vaslav making an impact, and obviously Hamza today. For
Mm-hmm.
me, you compare it to when we make the subs in the second half. Just I don't know if I don't know if it's maybe coming in cold or if it's just a lack of game time. But in Danny's case, when he's on the park, the offensive part of the team seems to click more for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Even when he's not directly involved, these runs that kind of take defenders with him, Andy, and create that space as well. I just think we're a much better team with him involved. And I think as much as possible, if he's fit, he's in there with Agaman. Like I say, I don't know why he felt the need to change it because we were certainly a lesser team when he wasn't playing, and we don't have those two strikers. We know that goals have been a massive issue for us this season. And we know even as a result of lack of goals that up the back as well, mistakes that we would make that if we were maybe 2 or 3-0 up wouldn't cost us as much. Unfortunately, this season, because of the lack of goals, that's having an impact everywhere. So we need these two strikers on the pitch whenever they're fit.
Rangers didn't leave us waiting too long to find a goal. 16 minutes on the clock. Pardon me, I'm actually riddled with a cold. I braved it today. Um, Hamza Egaman with some lovely work from Mohamed Diamande. I know a lot of people had Hamza to score first on their coupon, and that a lot of people were happy today. But he stays hot, and also Mo being in there as the assist. That's good for Hamza obviously, but also Mo. I think he's a bit of a confidence player at times, and I think he that's certainly not going to do him any harm getting an assist today.
No, but I don't know if you actually seen it, Andy. That goal, the first goal, all comes from the fact that Danilo's in and he's pressing that defender, and he forces the St Johnstone defender to make the error, put the ball out, and then lo and behold, we actually take a quick throw in. Do you know that the difference that makes? His press, forcing the error, the quick throw in, and it was a great finish, but a great cross in from Czerny as well, and a great finish from Igaman.
Yeah, it would quickly be double joy for the Gers. So the 20th minute, Vaslav getting the goal, a Danilo assist, as Cubby Cubster saying, a lovely ball for that. Um, it's it was felt like that we are gonna have a really good day. Granted, St Johnstone, no disrespect, I say this all the time. Anytime I think we do good against team, no disrespect, but we should be doing that. Um, a, a very poor team, that has to be said. Didn't really offer much, especially in that second half, and we got our rewards again in the 20th minute with another nice goal.
I know, and do you know what? I meant to say at the beginning of the pod is we will be positive about things, but we need to caveat that with just how dire St Johnstone are. I know at the beginning of the second half, I think they made a couple of subs. They maybe moved to a back four, but everything we say tonight has to be acknowledged just how poor St Johnstone are. So yeah, but I don't know again if you realise that the beginning, that second goal actually started with an absolutely fantastic tackle in the middle of the pitch from the much maligned Robin Proper. So again, we're kind of pushing and capitalising on mistakes, and it's things that we don't do very often. So those first two goals, I think with the three goals, Andy, within 9 minutes, I think I could be wrong.
Unfair of
I
me to
think they
do
were all
maths.
it was under 10 minutes. But again, Czerny does quite well to finish that. There was the wee pause I kind of felt around the stadium when we were all trying to work out whether it was offside or not, but it wasn't. And it was great.
Yeah, obviously then the third, as you said, 9 minutes on 25th, Mohamed Diamande. I was looking back at my football apps and giving a man of the match. It's difficult because as you said there, we try and be positive and say it was a good Rangers result, but again, that is a team bottom of the league by a significant margin now. It's difficult because again, we want to say Rangers were good at what they should have been doing, but again, when it's the opposition is at that level, we can't be too over the moon. But it's hard because you don't want to disregard good phases of play.
Mhm.
At the same time, I think to be nice, 3-0 half time was fair, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, that third goal comes from Jefte intercepting the ball, Tierney crossing the ball in. What that St Johnstone defender was thinking of, I will never know. It's like he kind of tried to head it out under not a lot of pressure, but headed it up in the air. And I think Diomande did really well to come in and just stick it away. So you're thinking half time, 3-0. Um, will go on and it'll maybe be kind of similar to the Kilmarnock game at home in December. 6-5, 6-0. I mean, listen, I think was it Rusty that said earlier on in the comments, the result changes nothing, and he's right. And there is a kind of feeling with that. Obviously, we're sitting and we're trying to pull out all the positives, but there is a wee bit of a kind of, not even an apathy, but a flatness, I think, when we're talking about Rangers just now. But yep, you did think at half time that they would hopefully go on and capitalise with that. What I hoped, and I think it was probably out of hope more than expectation, was that he might have brought some of the youngsters on. We've seen the kind of collapse at Hibs. I know he has to be wary of that. But I thought at 3-0 against a really, really poor St Johnstone team, he may have taken the opportunity to get a few of these young guys on. We know how threadbare they are. We know how he's talking as well about how tired people like Jefte and Czerny are. So an opportunity to get some of the younger players on, get a good look at them, give them that game experience. But no.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the bench, we'll just run through it. And I think there's one maybe in this case, which I think I would like to see. Bailey Rice, he wasn't on the bench today. Zach Lovelace, again, another one. Obviously, they were involved around the match day as as they tend to be, and suited and booted. They get out and they get involved in the pre-match warm-up and have a kick about at half time, but there was no space on the bench for them today, apart from Leon King, who did eventually come on. Oscar Cortez, probably the youngest, others than Ross, McCausland, I suppose there's your youngsters. Connor Barron potentially fires into there, but yeah, I think we're maybe. I don't know if he is being extra careful with inclusion of youngsters after Hibs. I don't know that maybe that should be. This is word of warning, but again, it's not. I'm not one to throw people under the bus, but Kieran Dill, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, Andy. I know that obviously there's the kind of scar tissue of Hibs, etc. But if you can even put some more younger players on your bench against St Johnstone at home, when can you do it? I don't, that's a perfect opportunity, surely. And we're also 3-0 up at half time. So surely, he makes that decision with the bench. He gives these guys a shot. They can't be any worse than Kieran Dowell. And again, like you say, we don't want to pick at anyone. I seen one of the comments there. I think it was maybe Sid, Dowell and Dessers to get them in the shop window. If I was looking at them, I wouldn't have seen anything from the matches that they've come on that would make me think, yeah, they're for me.
Yeah, I think before we obviously go into the rest of the game, as there wasn't much apart from unfortunately a goal from the opposition and obviously everything going on in the stands today. For me, those subs, and I think the manager also said it as well, without quoting him, and I'll take what I'll take my wording on it as I think he took off, the lifeblood of this everything good in this team for the last 3 months, I suppose. I suppose it's right if we need to be careful. He has said that if we need to manage minutes of certain players, Igaman, Tierney, the two main ones, probably the most important for me, um, he has to take them off. He's doing what we need him to do. Um, because if not, and they get injured, then he gets slapped with the you're not managing the players. He's in a lose lose. So um, I feel he just is if he's committing to one, then that's fair. He has committed to it. 65 minutes for both and off. Hadji also coming off. Danilo came off. Yilmaz came off as well. For the players coming on, so Dessers, Cortez, McCausland, Kieran Dowell, Leon King in the second half, stretched out across 65, 76, and 87, 88-ish minutes. So 55 minutes was going to be the big talking point today. It was kind of well documented before the fact. The Union Bears put out their statement on social media to discuss off the back of their previous post mentioning that it's time for a change and they were going to do a 55th minute walkout today. Banners up during the game and the time they were there as well. It's we tread a fine line. I have to say, folks, everyone tuning in, we tread a fine line. I think that symbolises the bigger picture at the moment about where we are as a team, as a club, and as a fan base. Um, we, it's about I feel about as divided as we've been in a long time, and it today was another bullet point behind this. You had our vocal supporters group leaving, which, from my point of view, I'll go out and say it. I stayed the 90, stayed to the final whistle, and I left with my dad because I felt it was the right thing to do. I have my reasoning for it. You'll have your reasoning for why you left potentially, or why you stayed. Um, there's booing for the subsections of support around me. I've seen people having arguments with each other. This symbolises where we are at the moment.
Yeah.
Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, and I'll get your opinion on it, Cheryl. I know
Mhm.
you'll have your opinion on it. For me, this is the big picture thing. It cannot just be we're playing bad. We need to do this. A bigger picture thing requires more than just a singing section leaving. It requires bigger change, whole scale change. But these things take time. We can't be a team that wants changes that take time and not give them the time to happen, if you get me. Those things don't work. You can't, want carrots from the ground without letting them sit and take water and sunlight. You know what? You can't just jump from step one to step 10 without doing the other in between. Um, it has to be done in the right way if this is gonna happen. I need more information to be perfectly honest. You bring in the CEO, you bring in your chairman, your chairperson now. That's change, but how much more change do we need? Um, I just feel that it symbolises a bigger problem, Cheryl. We just feel like we're all over the place at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main thing, Andy, is I mean, we've known about this problem. We always hark back to the Steven Gerrard comment after we won 55. I think now, though, it's laid bare for everybody to see the mess. I think this time last year we were in a great position. We absolutely, I'm trying to think of a polite way to put it, pooed the bed, and we were our own worst enemies. We lost that. We blew it at Dens Park. We blew it at Ross County. But I think what gave not necessarily the board, but Clement a wee bit of leeway and a wee bit of space was the thought that this is not his team. This is not his team. He needs a clear out. He'll get the money in the summer. He'll get his own team in place, and we'll go and we'll make it a much tighter race. And absolutely the opposite has happened. He's got the money, or some money at least. He's got rid of quite a few of the players that we felt needed to go. They've not all gone. I'm aware that there's still a fair few that need to go, but he'd started down the road of making that team his own. And I think now there's kind of nowhere to hide for the board because it hasn't worked out. Nothing's worked out. And then we obviously start to have a look at it, and it's the years of mismanagement, and nothing's changing. And in fact, I think it's the fact it's getting worse. It's getting a lot worse. And I absolutely understand why people are furious, because it's not a year, it's not 2 years, it's long-term mismanagement. So I get people's frustration, and I think, there's been voices over the last few years, there's been unhappiness, and nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. So I now completely understand why people want to protest, people want to boycott, people want to leave. That's your right. And I think up to this could just be my opinion. I think the people that I sat around, there was chat about, were you going to leave? Were you not going to leave? And if people were different, there was no issue around that. I think where it turned toxic and what I didn't agree with was the people who made the decision to leave on 55 being booed. I think that was a wee bit of a pivotal moment, because that's when it was laid really bare just how toxic things are. And like you say, it's your own choice. If you chose to stay, fine. If you were one of the people that left in 55, I completely understand that. I thought the Union Bears banners today were excellent. And you could tell, I mean, you could hear, I used to sit down at the front of the Sandy Garden, and I could hear the players all the time. I'm now right up at the back of the Sandy Garden, and it was like that today. You could hear everything. The place was quiet. That the Union Bears, I know that they have, there's some people that aren't their fans, but they bring the atmosphere to the stadium. They keep everybody going. They get the songs going, and you miss that today. And there was the wee bit singing as almost a kind of protest at people leaving. And that lasted, what, a minute? And then it went back to the morgue. So I think we have to be very, very careful with the booing of the people that leave, that doesn't create a whole different issue and make us even more divided than we are. I don't care. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media. The usual suspects putting up videos of fans arguing and things like that. I don't care what anybody else thinks of us. But what I do care is that we try as much as possible to change this together. And you'll never get everybody on the one side, but that this afternoon was toxic.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to happen. I mean, I think, as you said, there were so many people around me that when I sat in my seat and they were speaking to me as I do with them before the game, that was the question. That was the question. What you doing at the 55th minute? And yeah, I mean, it just is that just epitomises the lack of unity and the support at the minute. I think the booing, as you said, I think it's that is your highlighter over the top of it, score through at the moment. It was quite there, loud and clear that people were quite vocal with going against that and doing so. I do see a lot of people who did leave, so it's a divided camp at the minute. I did think to myself though, and I wonder because I'm trying to think of these players. There's a lot of newish players in this team, young guys in there as well. Player liaison officers inside the club need to be telling these boys ahead of time. Come that minute, it could get quite antsy in the crowd. I wonder what it is like to be the players in the park there. Obviously, professional footballers, but a big club, a big stadium, crowd that can drive us at the best of times and let them hear it at the worst. It must have been quite a weird experience for them. Probably one that probably have yet to have had in their careers. The key thing that I'd like from it is that we don't have many of these and we go in the positive direction from here on out. I think we all do. I think that's the key thing that we can all agree on is that less days of this ahead would be much appreciated. But time will tell. The rest of the game, as we said, not much happened apart from a goal for St Johnstone, which is frustrating, as we said, a team that weren't good, didn't really harm us at all throughout the game, then did find the net in the second half from set piece. Were we surprised a set piece potentially caught us? Probably not. Um, but at the time, the only thing I could think of is that, the St Johnstone players do what every other team that scores against Rangers do. They go try and rile up the players and go, right, we got them once, let's go and hit them again. And we didn't really let them, to be fair, which is the only positive thing I can think about for this that you can concede and not concede again because we do look fragile at times when we do concede that goal. Cheryl, is that the head can go, but it didn't seem to today.
No, but I think, Andy, that was because we were playing St Johnstone. Do you
Yeah,
know what? And they are. I said it earlier. They're really, really poor. I not marking a corner properly on Rangers bingo. I've watched it several times. The ball does come in at some pace, but it just goes over everybody. I think it's Hadji that's marking the player, and it's a really, really easy header. As per usual, it's a really, really easy header. I said last week that I would like two. I know it's quite greedy, but I think we need two centre backs. But we need, and not everybody agrees on it, but we need somebody of that kind of. I know he's out of our ballpark. We discussed it, Johnny Evans, but that kind of Davy Weir mould, an experienced defender that can talk these guys through the game because somebody needs to organise that defence. Time and time again, set pieces, corners, we lose these really, really stupid goals. And we've seen what happened at Easter Road. We're just lucky today that it was St Johnstone and they're as poor as they are.
yeah. Again, that falls back into it is only St Johnstone we played. At home, obviously, we expected to see more than we do away, which we did see today. We've seen 3 goals, but we also did continue to see the somewhat frailties that we have seen before, home and away. Um, I think, as you said, the corner, again, it's nothing new. Attacking set pieces and defending set pieces is one of the bullet points that you need to score under 4 or 5 times for you know, a big fix. It's not been brilliant at all in the time that Clement's been here. We don't score enough, and we certainly concede too many. I just think again there was no real surprises in the playing side of what happened today. To be honest, I expected to see better attacking play from the other guy the other night during the week, which we did see. We've seen 3 goals, um, and some okay attacking football, obviously with the opposition in mind. But then you also see the downsides of what Rangers do in these last few weeks, which is I don't know if it is switching off for that second. Is it just not getting involved enough physically? Is it a lack of communication between goalkeeper defence to goalkeeper? Yeah, there was no real points to write home about and say that that's something different, that's something new. I suppose these are these things when you hear that, you know, Patrick Stewart says they're backing the manager, but they need to see improvements. Are these the things that are on that list of improvements, or is it just purely 3 points? That's for me. That's an important point, Chiro. Is that are we going to get by just with wins and a dire show from now until the end of the season, or are we really expecting to see liquid football? Because
I
it's
think what I
tough.
think I know it is. I think the thing we all knew today, turning up, Andy, was barring some kind of catastrophic happening, we would watch decent-ish football at times. We would get a result, because at home's not our problem. It's away from home where, bar a couple of games early on and Ross County away in December, we've been really, really, really poor. So I think we knew what we were getting today. Like what I seen there wasn't a surprise. I was disappointed that we didn't kick on in the second half. I thought his subs kind of really flattened things as much as I knew why he made the subs. But I thought the game really, really fizzled out and just kind of went to nothing. One thing I would like to bring to your attention and get some comments on Cortez. Thoughts on Cortez when he came on?
I think he looks like a player that's had a long-term injury. As a person who's had long-term issues with my leg, he looked like someone who's getting thrown in again to play football after a long time out. I really hope the lad can be a success. I hope every player that pulls on the blue jersey can be a superstar. I really do. It's because we all do. That's just a part of being a Rangers supporter. But I would say is that he doesn't look ready. He doesn't look like he's ready to take a starting spot off of Yanis if he's on the left, or Hamza if he's on the left, or whoever it is going to fill that position if it's going to be in the team. I just don't think he. If Oscar were to go into the boss's office and say, I'm ready, boss, stick me in there left wing for the next game and don't even think about anybody else, I think the manager would say, you're not showing me enough, lad, honestly.
Mhm.
I think there is more to it, as I said, a long way off match fitness, match sharpness. I think they need to continue on with these sub appearances. My only issue was because there were so many in so many key positions, we just did look disjointed. That was my thing with Cortez, because I did see him come on, and McCausland obviously came on as well, which again means that Rabi didn't play, which again heartbroken.
Sorry.
Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, he's the longer term project. We want this lad to be brilliant. Um, Spend enough money, you need to commit to him.
No, but it's what is it, 4.5, 4 million at the end of the season?
Something like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a
Mhm.
lot of money. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we need to, if we are genuinely wanting to make him a long term piece, we need to get it right with him. Because
Mhm.
if we don't, then we're just gonna, you know, end up he'll be the next player on the WhatsApp group of players with contract lengths and wages per week getting highlighted. He's not good enough. He needs to go. The wages need punted. Aye, yeah. It's we need to be extra careful. I think that's the main thing. That extra, bit of due diligence. And if that is, throwing him in at the deep end to see how he reacts individually, to see the personal side that these stats websites don't tell you about how an individual reacts. That's something the manager can only see behind the scenes, the coaching staff. But yeah, I think it wasn't a surprising performance for Oscar, and he certainly didn't look like that lad who we've seen in 3 or 4 games before his major injury. Um, I'm just I need to bring it up because I need to cleanse it from my
Andrew
system.
on Andrew violence.
I know it hurts. It really does hurt. I think I suppose if we are in January, if you mentioned Johnny Evans, I suppose as well there. I'll bring up a couple just on do we trust Clement to get it right players in the window? I think again this goes back to what the expectations are in the window. By all accounts, it's not going to be a fire sale. It'll be pick and choose where based on what the plans were in place. I think if it's right, we go for it, but I don't see it being scatter cash because we don't have cash to scatter. That's the long and the short of it. Whether or not it's Clement that gets that say. I know he'd mentioned that him and the scouting team, I think he said after the game today on BBC, I think it was, on I listened to BBC Sport Scotland on the way home, that they had names they've looked at for the previous months, and if they can get it done, they'll look at it, as I believe he was saying along the lines of. But I just don't think it's again, much like everything Rangers at the minute, I don't think there is a short-term solution for a long-term problem. There's no magic wand, there's no silver bullet. It just needs to play out and see how it goes. Um, will there be new faces by Wednesday? The manager wasn't willing to comment on time period for these guys, but it's the 12th of June, 12th of June, Jesus, 12th of January.
You
I'm just
wish.
hoping the end of the season already. But yeah,
Well, that's
12th of
what we
Jan.
are, Andy. We're kind of now in the world's longest pre-season, aren't we? Because I know I seen there that Andrew made a comment about we still have Europe and we still have the Scottish Cup to play for as well. Absolutely. But I think the league, particularly the away form, has just absolutely scunnered everybody this season. So perhaps the rest of the season is about getting those couple of lone players in and just seeing what clearly is, seeing what can be salvaged. And what people are desperate for is just a sign of progress, a sign of something, being able to see. We've seen it briefly in December, maybe what he was trying to do, and then he changes it and we're back to absolute dirge and struggling. So I think if, like Andrew says, we do still have things to play for, but with that needs to come a very obvious direction and a style of play, and maybe then people will be slightly happier. I can't see it. I don't know what's around in terms of protests. I don't think Clement's going anywhere anyway. I think Patrick Stewart made that quite clear as well. That then brings up the bigger issue of season ticket renewals, etc. But I think the guys will probably cover that in the pod tomorrow. So going forward, yep, we go for these cups and we see what we can bring in and how we progress.
Yeah, I think it's difficult because, as we said, we're in a position. It feels that this is obviously unprecedented for us. This is such a new, but it's so long overdue. This is something that we'd spoken about, and I think everyone can admit they've spoken about windows previously. That such and such is getting up there. Like Tav is the main one. I think we've been speaking about this for years. What's the next step after Tav? Because any good club in world football has contingency plans for players, whether they want to leave all of a sudden. So who are you going to get in to replace them? Or they're getting old and they're getting up there. How do you move? And we don't seem to do that. That's the one thing I seem to keep seeing, is that we don't really have a. And I know we said, I think must have been Gerard, I think, during when we left, or I think when Patterson left, I think he'd said something along the lines of, we have players to, you know, we always have a plan B. Whereas I don't think we have plan Bs now. I feel like we have lots of paper, we throw it in the air and then magic.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose that shows the wider problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, just picking that area today, that right back area. I know we played well against Spurs, and I know we did a really, really good job against Celtic, but Ridvan has been absolutely dire. Playing that right back position, he's been really poor. I thought he was, again, against a really poor St Johnstone team, I thought he was just scraping and all right. But surely we must have players in the academy. I know that Adam Devine's certainly out of favour, but we must. What's the academy there for? I know Clement, I don't know if I don't want to kind of quote him incorrectly, but I know he brought up issues around B teams in Scotland and youth players not being up to the same standard as elsewhere in Europe and Scotland. But surely there must be something coming from the youth team that we can bring in to fill these positions.
I know the main one that would have been, because he has played there, is Leon King. I get the whole thing about. I think there's a lot of people saying, and Shell is obviously showing that the King's just out of favour with the manager. For me, again, you could say that. I think definitely you probably got an argument that he was happy to go with Sal over King, even though you probably had more of a right to pick King, given the whole B team kind of expellment as soon as the Salah came in. But I suppose to me also, if proper and the Salah gets injured, you're kind of screwed. So keeping
Yeah.
King in there, if you're going to start King in there at right back, um, you know, it's a worrying kind of prospect. Another injury in the back line. Jesus, I may
Yeah.
as well get my
Well, I don't know
boots
if
on
you
the now.
noticed, Andy, but today Proper was over at his shoulder quite a lot. I was actually quite surprised. I thought that he might not come out. We were 3-0 up. I didn't know if he would come out for the second half because he was on at his shoulder quite a lot towards the end of the first half. Obviously, it wasn't a huge problem because he came back out. But like you say, we really are fragile at the back. We're kind of past the stage of bare bones. So it's a massive worry.
Yeah. Again, this is one of these things that leads to you. Having this, Patrick Stewart coming out and saying we need to do a whole reevaluation, top to bottom. Um, you know, from Ibrox to the academy, for the men's team to the women's team to the juniors, and getting people outside of the club to come in and do that assessment. I think that's absolutely key because then you cut out all the that's his pal, that's their pal, handshakes, blah blah blah. I think you need an honest opinion of how bad it is before you can make wholesale change, because I think it's long overdue. The whole academy thing, you could do God knows how many podcasts on why we don't get reward from our academy as much as we should. But yeah, and again, that does lead into a whole discussion about Leon King, because not too long ago he was such a highly touted player. He signing the contract that's kept him from going down south. I think it was the Man City academy that were interested in getting him signed up on his first pro deal. We've seen it before with Billy Gilmore. That first pro contract, he goes down south. But this is a long term project, and that's not good when you do podcasts weekly because you have the same topics, the same lines of dialogue over and over and over again. But it's just the way it is at the moment, unfortunately. The Rangers will roll on as we do. Wednesday night to Aberdeen at home. Another interesting game, another potential platform for protest. But we hear what happens in the days to come. What's to come for the channel in those days? Tomorrow, the flagship show is back, where you get more of the same with a wee bit more in-depth kind of analysis on it, some more opinion on the way things went today. So tune in for that tomorrow. And obviously that Wednesday night game, you'll have the reaction from that and all the games going ahead. I think we'll call it there. I think it's been a rather it's been a long day, and I'm
Long day.
fighting with my cold. I went to Ibrox and braved it. You know, and I had a spare ticket which was maybe going to my mother for Wednesday night, and I said no to it just to spare her from it because I'm a nice guy like that.
You're a good son.
Yeah, I didn't want to put her through it, especially if it was on the telly.
Well, I'm doing the
Thought it.
opposite because I'm on the gantry, not for four lads, and with my other Rangers hat on. So I'm making my dad go along with my son. So as one
Cruel.
family member is spared, I'm dragging another one down with me. But difficult game. Only thing I can say is thank Christ for Aberdeen's dip in form, because could you imagine had that not come, things would have been even worse. So if we're kind of pulling it, trying to pull positives out there, there's another one. We know what they do. We know that they raised their game for us. We know how poor they've been. That'll go out the window on Wednesday. So we need another kind of Rangers Kilmarnock style performance at home. We need everybody to get stuck in, and as much as possible. I don't know what's planned for it, but the crowd behind the players as well, because we certainly missed the noise and the atmosphere and the energy that the Union Bears brought today, whilst understanding why they were doing what they were doing. Some good comments tonight, Andy, as well. Thank you very much, guys.
Yep, yes, again, thank you for your support. Anyone tuning in live or listening back, yes, thank you in the comments as well. Obviously, we're trying to get a wee bit more involvement from yourselves. Obviously, positive wins to talk about would be so much more of a joy than the just chaos at the moment. But yeah, it is what it is, and we roll on as we always do. So until next time, thank you for again for joining me. Just a quick shout out again to all those you can see below. Rhino Rhino Express, Jeez, I'm losing it. I think it's my bedtime soon. Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, Black Rooster Art of Gold. Thank you for your support. Certainly helps the channel. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us. Good evening and good night.
Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, along with Art of Gold. Thank you for listening or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.